Now that we talked about tangent ratios, we're going to go over the last two that we're going to cover in geometry, which is sine and cosine ratios. So we're going to review again how we label opposite and adjacent and hypotenuse. So we're again always referencing an angle. Call it the reference angle. Okay, theta, or whatever variable you want to use, but in this case we're using the symbol theta. To find the opposite, it is going to be across or opposite sides of the angle, so it's across from it, and adjacent being next to the angle. And then we have hypotenuse. Hypotenuse will always be across from the right angle. Okay. For tangent, we talked about having the ratio of opposite side over adjacent. For sine and cosine, they are different. So for sine ratio, we are using opposite side over hypotenuse. Right? And then for cosine, we are using adjacent over hypotenuse. So you can see for both of these, we're using hypotenuse on the bottom, but a different side on the top. Okay. For sine, the shortened version is just sin, sin, but we call it sine. Again, we will include a angle with it, and it'll be O over H. So sine theta equals O over H. Cosine, we use cos, cos, but we call it cosine of theta, would be adjacent over hypotenuse, A over H. Again, important to know that the angles are always going to be after sine or cosine, and we are only using acute angles. And not the right angle. Okay, so we'll do a couple together. For the first one, it says we're looking for sine and cosine. So we'll do sine first, and they're both referring to C. Okay, so I'm going to mark C, and we're going to again label, like we did the tangents, our opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. With our reference angle being C, 3 is opposite, 4 is adjacent, 5 is hypotenuse. Okay. Sine of C equals opposite over adjacent, opposite over hypotenuse, which means it is 3 over 5. So that is my ratio for sine of C. For cosine of C, we have adjacent over hypotenuse, meaning, again, we're keeping it the same because we're still referencing C, but now this time we're using adjacent over hypotenuse, meaning we're going to have 4 over 5. Okay. And that's how we use sine and cosine.